Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Fish and I stream a bunch of games over at my channel Fishalistic Gaming on Twitch. Please like, comment and subscribe. Now today I want to talk to you about one game in particular I tend to stream quite often. You might have seen it, you might have heard about it, and it's Fortnite. No way, it's not Fortnite. It's the Kingdom Hearts 2 Randomizer, guys! Now I am assuming that if you clicked on this video, you're at least familiar with the base game. And if not, maybe consider playing that first. It's a really solid game and I can highly recommend it. Good times will be had by all. Now let's talk about the randomizer, shall we? See, in vanilla KH2, all items, bosses, enemies and more are in static locations and you work your way through the worlds in a set sort of order. So, in a way, each run of the game is the same. Oh, here we go, back to Atlantica, baby! Oh wait, that's not even a required world, what am I doing? In the randomizer, not so much. Near the end of KH2, there's an area with a bunch of super bosses called the Garden of Assemblage, or Goa for short. Here you fight a bunch of super bosses and get rewarded for doing so with some cool bonuses. However, in the randomizer they repurposed this room, and each door that usually leads to a boss will now take you to one of the worlds in the game. In essence, what was supposed to be a linear experience is now completely blown open, due to this room being rearranged the way it is. No more gummy ships for me, mister. I'm going to cruise through these worlds like a bullet train through the Japanese railway system. Now add to that fact that for the randomizer, all stuff that you would usually find at set points in the game is scattered at random in these worlds. And it's your job to find 3 specific items, and sometimes a 4th, and challenge the final boss of the game. Except, initially, you have no clue where to look.
I have several questions.
Welcome to the Kingdom Hearts 2 Randomizer. Be scared. First of all, there are numerous different settings for the randomizer, but it would take way too long to discuss all of them. So I am going to talk about the most common settings you will run into, so you can understand what the randomizer is all about. Cool? Let's go. Now we are looking for 3 things in particular: the proof of connection, the proof of non-existence, and the proof of peace. These 3 items will grant us access to the final boss, Xemnas. Now usually we fight Xemnas at the very end of the final world, the world that never was. Thing is, this world is filled to the brim with hard bosses and it will take a long time to work through. Ulaksert, I do not want to play a game, damn it! So, most times on randomizers we are looking for a very coveted 4th item, that being the Promise Charm. Having the Promise Charm alongside the proofs will allow Sora access to the computer in the Garden of Assemblage and travel to an area exclusive to the randomizer, that being the Station of Awakening. This is why Xemnas should use NordVPN. Please sponsor me, NordVPN. Here we can level up with the bulky vendor enemies, who drop tons of XP for us. Or if we are feeling confident or in a hurry, we ignore them, and we can challenge Xemnas straight away. Defeating Xemnas will stop the timer and the randomizer will have been cleared. Get wrecked, Xemnas! So far that might not seem too complicated, right? Well, imagine there being more than 100 places where we might find these items, and we need all of them, and they are completely randomized. Where do we look? Well, that's where the tracker comes in. No, I know your head might explode when you look at this, but let's try and look at the individual part of this tracker and let's see if we can make sense of it, okay, right? Yes, okay, sit down and I'll tell you it, okay, yeah, good. Now already we are getting into the part where rules may vary. You see, each little icon has a number next to it. Sometimes all the numbers start at 0, and other times all start at a different number. Maybe it's a 5 or a 3. This can be really confusing as a viewer, I realize, but as soon as you understand what's going on, it will make sense. Trust me. Just relax, eat some sea salt ice cream, and let's look at this.
I'll go get some ice cream.
So, say that each world starts at 0. That means nothing has been found, not in any of the worlds. As important stuff, which we tend to call checks, are found in each of the worlds, typically the number will increase by 1 for each check. At some point the number for a world might turn blue. This means that all checks for that world have been found and no checks remain. The number might also turn green. This means that the player has received a hint for that world. Maybe they were told that fire magic was hidden in that world, or maybe they were told every single item available to them in that world. However, as long as that number hasn't turned blue, the player has not found everything there. There's a difference. hinted or found. It just means there's a hint for that world. Now in scenarios where we start off the run with numbers next to the worlds, it actually works the other way around. If a world says 7, you can expect to find 7 checks there, and each found check decreases the count, until it eventually reaches a blue 0. So you have to carefully consider where to head first in a scenario like that. Whoo-wee! Well, now that we've gotten the numbers out of the way, we might as well talk about those juicy little hints next. Hints are gotten from the 13 and some reports. In the vanilla games, these are just pieces of lore, but here they actually give the players hints when found. Depending on the kind of randomizer, different things might be hinted. Sometimes they will hint at single checks, other times they will actually reveal everything that's to be found for a world. But sadly, they won't tell me what to file for my tax returns. Whatever is hinted is revealed with both a text and also a faded icon on the world where it is to be found. Using this information, players might actually decide to change their routing in an attempt to find something they need, or abandon an otherwise planned visit to a world. Speaking of worlds, there's 13 on the tracker, not counting 4 special ones which I will discuss in a bit. These worlds can be visited in any order the racer likes, however some are more ideal than others. But we can save strategy discussion for another video. What is important now is that in the vanilla game, Sora visits most, if not all worlds, twice, and sometimes even 3 times. We call these first and second visits in the randomizer. First visit is always unlocked for the player, but in order to actually gain access to the second scenario and its additional checks, players will have to find visit unlocks. These are represented by the weapons of the companion characters for each world, like Beast's Claw for Beast's Castle and the Bone Fist for Halloween Town. Unlocking second visits can be a big deal, especially if a player got hinted something important for a world, but has no access to it during the first visit, which means he has to get to the second visit to acquire it. There are 4 special worlds, however, that do not follow these rules. Let's look at them too. Bottom left is actually something that looks like the 3 little doorways from the Garden of Assemblage. This is the garden itself, because even in the garden, important checks can be found. So if something was in the garden, it will show up there. Easy peasy. Next to it is the honeypot from Winnie the Pooh's 100 Acre Wood. Like in the vanilla game, players have to track down the torn pages in order to gain access to the next chapter of the book. Each chapter has a bunch of chests and a minigame the player has to complete in order to progress. So one could argue that 100 Acre Wood has 5 visit unlocks, each being a page. Top left is Sora's Heart, which is a fancy word for levels. That's right, some checks can only be found by leveling up. Most of the times the cap on this level is 50 by the way, and during the randomizer racers can level up far quicker than in the vanilla game. I got approved on level 50 once. It was not fun. And finally, top right, the star, which are the drive forms. I dreaded explaining this. Okay, so Sora has 5 different transformations called drive forms. These are considered important checks and thus Sora has to find them before he can use them and thus level them up. That's right, drive forms are another thing Sora can level up. At the start of the randomizer there will be a max level 2 at the drive forms. That means that each drive form can only level up to level 2 and each level has the potential of unlocking a check. However, in order to up that max level cap, Sora will actually have to find drive forms. Each drive form that Sora finds allows him to up the level cap by 1. So if you find 1 drive form, you can go to level 3. Found 2, you can go to level 4, all the way up to level 7 for all 5. So in a worst case scenario, there might be something on a level 7 drive form check. Maybe even on the last one you find. And don't get me started on drive form leveling up requirements, because I won't. Because if you made it this far, I applaud your commitment to this silly little video that I'm making. And I'm not gonna torture you with that shit. Look, I really like drive forms, but in the randomizer, oh boy. Alright, so that about does it for the worlds. Now for the checks, but I am going to assume that you know Kingdom Hearts 2, so this will be brief and mostly geared towards those who don't know the game very well so they can follow along. Below the answer reports are your magics, as well as torn pages to the right, which we already discussed. There's 3 tiers to each magic, and we unlock a better version each time we pick a magic element up. They all have their uses, but Reflect and Magnet get an honorable mention. Reflect basically turns the enemy's attack back at them, which works wonders on bosses, including the final boss. And Magnet is great for crowd control, as it allows you to scoop up enemies as they scurry off so you can make quick work of them. Below that are the 5 aforementioned drive forms, of which I argue Limit Form is the most practical one, since you don't need any partners in the field to use it, and it kinda breaks the game. And the other major one being Final Form, which is an absolute slaughterfest and my favorite out of the bunch. Then there's Summons. Not very much there. I don't really use summons during the run, since they are highly situational, but I guess Stitch and Chicken Little are useful for the odd situation every now and again. Then there's 2 abilities, Once More and Second Chance. Basically both allow you to survive a combo or a single devastating attack with 1 HP, and they are very good to have. Speaking about abilities, Sora has a bunch of those, and they are also randomized. Explosion is an ability that's not on the tracker, but it annihilates almost everything on the screen, so that's pretty big if you manage to find it. And that's basically it. Using all this knowledge, players attempt to find their way across the randomizer and hope to beat it as fast as possible. It's a lot of fun, and I hope that by making this video you now have a slightly better understanding of the Kingdom Hearts 2 randomizer, and maybe you even want to give it your go for yourself.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
So, have at it and let me know how your experience was in the comments. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those as well. I'd be very happy to explain to the best of my abilities. Also, if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hit that notification bell, it really helps a lot. Thanks! I'm Fish in the Stick Gaming, you guys are off the hook, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye!